friend Roger Christofferson here with another top 5. I've actually done one of these. That was back when Def Leppard first came out. Kind of got me inspired to go back and listen to a bunch of the old Leppard albums, and I just figured I'd do a top 5. And since I got done listening to that Animals remix, and I really enjoyed that, so I'm like, yeah, and I love Pink Floyd. They're one of my favorite bands, which is kind of funny that I didn't remember that I made a statement on that one that I love Roger Waters' bass playing, which I do, and how he doesn't get enough credit, but I forgot that it was actually David Gilmour playing on 2 of the songs. The one I was raving about was Pigs, 3 different ones. Gotta remember to say the 3 different ones. It was actually Gilmour. I completely forgot that. I hadn't read the liner notes on that one in probably years. So anyway, so that aside, I decided, well, I'm gonna check out some of the ones that I really liked listening to. The funny thing is, before this came out, there's a bootleg that was made by some Japanese label. They did it for some non-profit, and I don't remember exactly what it was for, but it's called Forever and Ever, where they took the Endless River and the Division Bell and kind of mashed it together the way they thought it should flow. And it works really well. It's a double CD, and you can find I've got it off of Discogs, but you can find it online. A lot of different places are selling it, and I know there's some free places. I don't recommend doing that, but I guess they kind of did it for non-profit anyway, so the best thing to do is buy it. It's going to some charity of some sort, don't really know. But anyway, that aside, I've kind of looked at the list of the albums. I have so many Pink Floyd re-releases, remixes. I actually have lost track of how many different ones there are. They had the Immersions and the Discovery and all those sets that they had come out so many different years, and there's somebody out there, I'm sure, that's got it all memorized, but that person is not me. But of the original, I'm just going to go from my top 5 of the original albums. I was actually going to just limit it to the ones where it was when Roger Waters was still in the band, but then I realized I don't like the Piper at the Gates of Dawn at all, so that would take that one right out anyway. And Momentary Lapse of Reason is a good album, but it was definitely not going to make the top 5. My introduction to Pink Floyd was actually the Final Cut album. That is the one that was on the radio right when I was really getting into music and really learning how to play guitar and wanting to write and just finding rock music. I was discovering rock music at that exact moment that the Final Cut was released. So they're playing on my local radio station all kinds of cuts from this. They weren't just sticking to the singles. They were playing all kinds of stuff from it. I had heard, the other ones, like Another Brick in the Wall and Wish You Were Here, and probably some stuff from Dark Side of the Moon, like Money, and whatever else the radio station had played, but I hadn't been listening to it that long, so the big deal at that point in time was the Final Cut. And I just found it, a lot of people, when they pick albums, they go back to a moment in time it means something to them. And I remember just listening to it thinking it was so much different than everything else that they were playing on the radio. Was because of, Roger Waters sings the majority of that album. I think him and Gilmour double up on Not Now, John, which they did not play the original version on the radio. They did the the edited version, obviously. But it was just kind of I don't know, spooky, I guess. It was just moody. It was different. So as you can tell where I'm going with this, I'm actually picking that as my number 5. I don't think there's probably another person out there that's going to have the Final Cut in their top 5. And I'm telling you right now, there's probably going to be a lot of people that do not agree with this list at all. My list is probably going to be very unique, but it is what it is. I like what I like, you like what you like, we should all like what we like. There's the only kind of music I think there is music we like and music we don't like. I really live by that. I listen to so much different stuff that my tastes are kind of strange. I tend not to like the stuff that's really popular and like the obscure stuff. Although Piper at the Gates of Dawn is not on that list of stuff that I like, unfortunately. I don't know, not to rag on, I just really never got it. I liked it more when they went in a more song, I shouldn't say more song oriented, but whatever direction it was that they chose to go on Sasha Full Secrets. Like Set the Controls for the Heart of Sun is probably one of my favorite Pink Floyd songs, although that is not on my list of the top 5 albums. You know, I tried to pick albums that the majority of it I like, if not every single song. And so for my number 4 choice, I went with the Division Bell. People are probably shocked on that one. But I know Roger Waters is not on that one. A lot of people think it's more of a David Gilmour solo album, but I disagree. I've got David Gilmour solo albums, and they do sound quite a bit different. He keeps the Pink Floyd stuff sounding kind of Pink Floyd-y, if that makes any sense. I mean, he did write a lot of the stuff on their older stuff, even when Roger Waters was kind of in charge. I don't think he did that well with A Momentary Lapse of Reason. That one just seemed a little bit too synthesizer, like 80s sounding, I guess. Although his guitar tone was great on that album, his playing is great. On The Turning Away is like a great song. That's probably up maybe in my top 5 songs, because that solo on that is just I don't know, blows me away. I really like the solo on that song. Some of the rest of the album's kind of meh, but the Division Bell, I like that one. It's got some really cool songs on it. I like the intro to it, the cluster, I think it's called. I'm checking here. Yeah, it's Cluster 1. What Do You Want From Me? I really like that song. When I first heard it, I liked it. Marooned is a great one, an instrumental one. We played some really cool guitar on that one. I know his wife wrote a lot of the lyrics on this one, so I know that turned some people off too, but I actually think she did a pretty good job writing them. It's a little bit, I don't know how to describe it, like loving the universe, not the universe, but loving nature type stuff on there, and along those lines. But she has a nice way with words, so I kind of liked it. Take It Back's a good song, even though it's a little bit more pop than most of their older stuff. And Keep Talking, I think, is like a cool song. It's got a really cool groove. And Lost Words isn't bad. And High Hopes is a pretty good song. I like those. There's a couple other ones on there that are just kind of like whatever, but overall, the majority of that one I like. So that's gonna be number 4. Number 3 for me is gonna be The Wall. I know a lot of people think this one's like overhyped and it's made up to be more than what it is, but I actually love this. I remember seeing the movie when I was a kid and it creeped me out, and I was like wondering what the hell I'd just seen, but I kept watching it anyway and watched it over and over again, and really like that movie. And of course then I get the album afterwards. Roger Waters has a good way of like storytelling, and I actually inspired me to write some stuff when I was younger, like album long like things. In fact, one thing I wrote was like double album length of just telling stories. I thought it was cool. Pete Townsend from The Who, also one of my huge influences, did the same thing. Obviously Tommy was the first full length album they did that did that. So I like The Wall, and I know David Gilmour plays a lot of bass on this one. In fact, there's one of the songs that Roger Waters does, and I don't think he even plays on at all. And one of them has nothing to do with it, and I forget which song it is. I know it's one of the Gilmour ones, and Young Lust. I couldn't think of what it was. But the whole first side, because I of course got this on vinyl, I just think is amazing. I remember making my mother listen to the song Mother, because I was trying to explain to her how the rhythms and everything changed, and I thought it was so cool. Not realizing what the lyrics were saying. I don't think she caught it though, but it's kind of funny looking back. Man, just so many good songs. Goodbye Blue Sky, Young Lust is good. Goodbye Cruel World, Hey You is I think is amazing. It gets a little weird though at the end with the Vera and the Bring the Boys Back Home. I don't know. I've never understood what that was all about. Comfortably Numb, of course, has got one of the ultimate, Gilmore solos on it. And then, you get to the side four and there's some weird ones on there. I mean, In the Flesh is okay. Run Like Hell is great. Actually, the band I'm in right now plays that song. And then the rest of it, I don't know what. It kind of falls apart at the end. I don't know what that's all about. I never really listened to the whole thing, quite honestly. So that's why it doesn't rank a little bit higher. But I think if you took the good songs on it, you'd have more than one album's worth of amazing songs. Although the story wouldn't make any sense at that point, so I guess you can't do that. But still, great songs on there. A lot of great songs. And now we're down to the final two. And I know I'm going to get some hate for the last two that I'm picking here because obviously one of the albums that people really like is not going to be on this list. So I can already tell that I'm going to get some bad comments on this one. But like I said, these are the ones that I listen to the most and that mean something to me that I took away a lot from. So that being said, number 2 is going to be Dark Side of the Moon. I absolutely love this album. There's not anything bad about this album. The only thing I can even say slightly negative is Money, the first single off of it, is my least favorite on here, which I know may be strange saying because bass is my favorite instrument to play. But something about that song just never really... I thought it was amazing or anything, but I like it. But it fits in great with the flow of the album, but I don't know, it just didn't. It's one of those songs that every bass player has to learn, and I've never learned how to play that song, so I still don't know how to play it. Probably could figure it out, but it's just one of those things, you just don't learn how to play Stairway to Heaven if you're a guitar player, and if you do, you just don't play it for anybody, or Smoke on the Water, that type of thing. And, drummers, what is it, probably the opening to Rock and Roll is one of those things you'd probably have to learn. I don't know, I'm kind of guessing on that one, but anyway, yeah, great album. I mean, the singing on it, the words are kind of basic, but they say a lot at the same time, if that makes any sense. Gilmore sings the majority of it. I think, Wright has a couple spots where he sings on there. And Waters, I know, does too, the last, Brain Damage and Eclipse, I think he sings, and everything else is Gilmore, except for Wright and Time, which Time is a great song. And of course, the clock thing, everybody knows the clock thing, and the story behind that, I'm sure. So, yeah, anyway, it's one of the best-selling albums of all time. It was in the charts for something crazy, 200 and some weeks. I don't remember all that's the details there, but it was one of those albums. So, anyway, down to number 1. I'm gonna get railed for this, but I did not pick Animals as number 1. I love that album. Pigs is an amazing song. The rest of it I just never found myself listening to a lot. You got Ummagumma, which was weird. I never listened to that album, quite honestly. More's kind of cool. Don't listen to it too much, but it's decent. Atom Heart Mother and Metal. I wish you could take Atom Heart Sweet one of these days and Echoes and put that all in one album, because the rest of the songs on those I find myself kind of skipping over. Obscured isn't bad. Probably don't listen to it too much. In fact, I can't remember the last time I listened to that one. Maybe I should grab that one. But it's just not one that I listen to too much. And of course, the Endless River one that came out, it was cool. It was nice to have, but it was, you could tell it wasn't meant to be an album, but it was nice to have it anyway. It was the leftover stuff from Richard Wright and what he had done working on the Division Bell, and that's why I think that Forever and Ever combined together actually works great. I think that is a perfect album. If you can find that, Forever and Ever, find that and listen to those two together, and I think you'll enjoy both of those albums a lot more. So obviously there's only one left, and that would be Wish You Were Here. That is my number 1. I think that is a great album. That Shine On intro, that is so identifiable. As soon as you hear that, it sends me chills down my spine. I love that, and just everything about this album. is great. You know, the story about when they're recording it, and Sid came in, they didn't even recognize him. He was there, and this album was kind of like written mainly about him. Well, at least Shine On is. Welcome, and obviously Wish You Were Here is Have a Cigar and Welcome to the Machine are probably not about Sid. That's, you know, Welcome to the Machine, and I think Have a Cigar are both just about the record business in general. And as most of you know, the famous story about Roy Harper singing on Have a Cigar, and Roger Waters wasn't too happy about that, but they ended up leaving it on there anyway. And it's funny because I probably would never have listened to Roy Harper ever if it wasn't for that. And I actually collected a whole bunch of Roy Harper albums, and I kind of really like them. You should get the time, you should check those out. It's kind of hard to explain what it's like, but more acoustic-y and stuff like that. But anyway, it's cool to listen to. Yeah, and it's just the flow of it. I get this on CD when you don't have to flip sides, because of course, you know, I got that on vinyl when I first got it and listened to it the most. It's just great. You just put it on and you just disappear for, 45 minutes and just leave life and enjoy listening to this thing for a little bit. That's what music, I think, is supposed to do. Just give us joy, and that's what this album does. It gives me like just pure joy. So anyway, tell me what you guys think. I'd love to hear, reasons for other lists, because I'm sure like I said, this list isn't going to match anybody's, but it's my list, I stand by it. So yeah, like, subscribe, share, everything I have to ask for, all that fun stuff, like I say, and let me know what you think. I really want to hear what people think about Floyd and what their favorites are. So talk to you guys later.